If you are listening to an MMA podcast and we are covering the UFC Flyweight Championship and you are listening as an interested person, you are cool. No ifs, no buts about it. You are straight up a cool person. You are what the hipsters wish they were. We're going to be talking about the Flyweight Championship. My name's Tim Wheaton, Calfkick Sports Podcast, joined as always by Ash. Ash, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, I like that, man. I like that a lot. This, if you're watching the Flyweight division with bated breath, you're definitely not coming from the Conor McGregor era. I'll tell you that right now. there's absolutely no way, you are a diehard fan. I mean, I'm somewhat interested in the Flyweight division, not so much since Demetrius Johnson left and Henry Cejudo left with it as well. But I mean, man, what a fucking main event, man. It's going to be such a fireworks display.
I'm so happy that you brought up Henry Cejudo and Demetrius Johnson here because I have that was what I really wanted to.
You got 50 notes on each person now.
Yeah. That's exactly right. No, so yeah, we are going to be talking about Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno in a little bit. But first, I wanted to cover off if you are the kind of person who does watch the flyweight division and, your ear time, your ear space can only be taken up by so much. We got like Bo Burnham specials. We got cool TV shows. And you were like, nah, F all that. I want to listen to two guys talk about the flyweight division. Like, man, you are awesome. Okay. But here's the thing. So
if we even get 100 views for this, I will be so shocked, man. Honestly.
You know what? I will say, and you know me. I'm a man of my word. If this gets more than 100 views, someone in the comments name a charity, and I'll give 50 pounds to whatever charity.
No way. That would be awesome. That is
on record.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. So I'll split that with you. In fact, fuck it, man. Yeah, let's do it.
There we go. 25 pounds each. Name a charity in the comments. Let's see if this gets 100 views. That's how I'm poor. So that's how confident I am.
Sharing it to anyone. You can all find this organically, guys. Fuck all of you.
That's right. So the UFC flyweight division, if you are a person who started watching the UFC post Brock Lesnar, you don't really have any idea what was going on during the dark ages of the UFC. However, the UFC flyweight division is an image. It's a throwback of what the dark ages was. And let me explain. This is a weird conclusion. I'm going to have an article on this in the next, probably by now, it'll be up actually. But so the early UFC fighters were champions, but they weren't ranked number one in MMA. Titles were overseas. The UFC wasn't selling out arenas. It wasn't even selling on pay-per-view. So at the same time that K1 and Pride were selling 90,000 person stadiums, the UFC couldn't sell out a 2,000 person casino. At the same time, K1 and Pride had up to 55 million viewers in Japan. The UFC wasn't on TV at the time. If you were a UFC champion, you could get paid more for going overseas. And these weren't just like the Mark Colemans and Randy Coutures. These were also Jens Pulvers, BJ Penns, people like this that you would think are pretty good in the UFC, but they knew that going overseas, that's where the real money is, and that's where the real prestige is. Not only that, everyone thought the better fighters were over there. So now fast forward to the UFC flyweight division, we have 1/3 of the champions retiring, relinquishing their title. Another champion had 11 title defenses and then just like, oh yeah, I got paid for doing this for more money overseas, right? So, and you have some weird tournament stuff. Do you remember the inaugural tournament for the flyweight division?
Oh man, it was a bit of a shit show. Let's be honest.
It was a bit of a shit show. That's right. It was.
It really was. You remember this clearly. I mean, with the whole Ian McCall versus Demetrius Johnson. I like to recall. Was it that one? It was that fight, wasn't it?
That's right. Rather than just having a regular tournament where you have 4 guys and then they move forward and fight each other, one fight ended in a freaking draw. So you couldn't even have a normal person tournament. And a lot of UFC tournaments early on ended like in either some weird scenario or a draw. The UFC had 4 super fights, and these were like Mark Coleman versus Dan Severn or like Royce Gracie versus Ken Shamrock. Out of 4 super fights, 2 ended in draws. The early UFC, the dark ages were super weird. After Jens Pulver left to go fight in Pride, the UFC had a tournament for the lightweight division, Cal Uno and BJ Penn, which also ended in a draw. Yeah. And that's when the UFC was like, F it, we're cutting lightweights. And then they just straight up cut the lightweight division. And the UFC before Henry Cejudo was thinking of just cutting the flyweight with shades of
the Messiah. Sorry to cut you off. Just the Messiah of the flyweight division.
Yeah, Henry Cejudo, he saves the flyweight division, and then just retires. It's just like one of the weirdest things. The UFC called his bluff of like, man, just okay, enjoy retirement, bro, have fun. But he was one third of all the. Yeah, I know.
With Habib, it's like, listen, man, look, we'll have 30 dinners with you. We're gonna take you to the best hotels, the best restaurants. You just name it, buddy. Look, we just want you back in the game. We just want you back, man. And it's like, all right, look, I'll have another dinner with you. Henry Cejudo, I've retired. All right, cool, bye-bye. It's so brutal, like, goodbye.
No, and you're 100% right. Fighters back in the early UFC days were just straight up leaving, and just like Henry Cejudo, of like, it's not worth the money doing this because the UFC is not paying me enough. But one of the weird things is that if you were a UFC champion, you weren't number one. The more prestigious title was somewhere else overseas. And it's not just Pride and K1. It could have been like somewhere like Rings. If you remember, for a long time, Paulo Filho was ranked number one, even when Anderson Silva was the champion.
He submitted fucking I'm trying to remember now. Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, man, I'm surprised you remember this. I didn't find you on this at all.
I vaguely remember seeing the highlights because this is well before even I watched MMA. We're talking about 2003. But he dominated Chael Sonnen and submit him. From what I remember, I think he beat him handily.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen
a few years later, or maybe it's someone else I'm thinking of. Oh no, that's Hermes Franca. Hermes Franca got done for rape.
Hermes Franca was another weird case. He was with like Sean Shirk on the lightweight division. Again, like steroid disputes and just never fought again. Of like these dark age era. If you just look at a list of champions, most of them left due to injury, most of the contract disputes, or wanted to fight elsewhere. But yeah, Paulo Filho. Went to Pride, had a huge success there, and then beat Chael Sonnen in the WEC. Even when Anderson Silva was champion, people were like, Anderson still needs to beat Paulo Filho. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You remember that, like, weird time.
It's crazy. Back then, it was almost like if you were the number one in the UFC, it didn't necessarily mean you were the number one in the world. And I think it was just the popularity of Japanese MMA back then. I mean, you got the number one guy in Pride. That means you are the number one guy in the fucking world. You're the world champion. So Fedor, I mean, just to go on a tangent, the heavyweight division, when people go, Fedor didn't really fight any top competition, he was the world champion multiple times in the deepest division back then.
No, well, that's exactly it. You are 100% correct. Of like, I think we measure Fedor's success of like he beat 8 UFC champions, but that's the wrong way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that 8 UFC champions were trying to be number one and they couldn't, right? Yeah. Of like Mark Coleman was kind of number one at heavyweight because he won the Pride heavyweight championship, not just because he won the UFC championship. The Pride heavyweight championship was more important than the UFC heavyweight championship.
By the way, that was bullshit. That was complete bullshit. He beat one of my favorite guys in Pride ever, Igor Vovchanchin, and he beat him. He had 2 easy fights. Igor was fucking tired, and then in the third fight, he just steamrolled him, man. And it was like, oh, what the fuck, man.
And it's a weird thing too, of like Igor got kneed in the head like 800 times and wouldn't get knocked out. Like Igor, you know,
he was so tough, man. And he was fighting someone on steroids, man. It was the steroids era back then.
Oh, and Mark Coleman was a juicy man, wasn't he?
Man. He was basically Alistair Overeem times 3. Oh, Alistair Overeem when he was Ubereem times about 3 or 4.
Yeah, he was on some good stuff, good designer stuff back in the day, some good horse meat. But and now with the UFC flyweights, you know, you have your UFC champion, but I think it's actually fair to say, and a lot of other fans have brought up this point, that we do have Figueiredo's ranked as number one universally, but maybe the better fighters are actually fighting elsewhere. And this is a very dark, like this is what we saw reflective of the dark days of the UFC, where like would Kyoji Horiguchi beat him? Would Adrian, the champion in 1, Demetrius Johnson, would he still be able to beat him? If Henry Cejudo came out of retirement, would he still?
Adriano, what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Second name.
I just had it up a second ago. I think it's Adriano Moraes.
Because I've seen a couple of his fights. Truth be told, I'm not really that well versed in the flyweights outside of the UFC. But you've got a good point, man. They're very, very talented guys, but it's a slightly different weight division, though, Tim. We're talking about 61 kilos hydrated as opposed to drawn out at 57 kilos. So it's a little bit of a different measure, I would say, as well. I think these guys could definitely compete in the flyweight division and the bantamweight division of the UFC for sure, though. It doesn't seem like a huge talent pool in the UFC flyweight division at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing. Of like, I thought Manel Cape would come over
Oh,
and just like be.
he didn't look that good in the first in his first fight either.
No, and that was such a disappointment. That was a huge
against
disappointment.
Pantoja
But I think
as well. I think yeah, it was against Pantoja.
Pantoja's quite talented. I'll give him that. But yeah, I thought like so Horiguchi, Johnson, Marias, perhaps, and Cejudo. Those are four guys not in the UFC who I would say maybe are better than the UFC champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they would beat him in a fight.
Yeah, they should all be in the top 5. I mean, Cejudo would be such a bad matchup against Deiveson Figueiredo, and then you got DJ. I think that would be a bad matchup again against Deiveson Figueiredo. Brandon Moreno, I think he handily gets beat by Henry Cejudo and DJ and some other flyweights as well outside of the UFC. So it's an interesting one, Tim. I mean, we've got like 2 really talented guys at flyweight, maybe 3 with Askarov, but other than that, it's not really a deep division, unfortunately.
No, it's too bad because I think if we had all the best fighters in the world in the UFC, we would have some really hot storylines. Yeah, like you said, of like this is a really cool main event and it's a lot of fun. But after this, we got Askarov, and then I don't cut the division. I mean, we'll throw Benavidez in to get decapitated again. It's just fun to see.
No, I don't think they're ever gonna give him a title shot again, man. I mean, after that last performance against Askarov, he was getting outworked on the feet. And Askarov isn't a striker. So it just shows you that Benavidez, he's probably not all there anymore.
Yeah. So in summary, if you are missing the UFC, if you felt like you missed something in the UFC dark days, just watch the UFC flyweight division. And it's again, like fans barely care. Hardcore fans are often apathetic. Yeah, that's dark days UFC right there.
Even now, man, the flyweight division isn't extremely popular, but yeah, I mean, I think Dana really just wanted TJ to annihilate Cejudo in that flyweight, matchup and completely dismantle that division. Just take it apart and be done with it because it's probably costing them more money than it's gaining them right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing can ever be normal with the UFC flyweights, right? It can never just go according to plan. It can never just be like, we have a champion and he's popular and he sells tickets, or we're just going to send our other champion to go beat him. Like, nope, it's just going to be weird forever. We only have abnormal storylines at flyweight.
You need some kind of like Conor McGregor type figure for flyweights or something like that. Someone, because featherweights is popular, but it wasn't as popular before Conor came along and everyone took notice of the featherweights. And you kind of need that kind of person again, and you don't really have anyone that's polarizing or who's that charismatic to really carry that division at the moment. Deiveson is very good, though. I got to admit. I mean, I'm in love with his fighting style. I'd like to, see him learn a little bit more English, but I think he's quite exciting, man, for sure.
Oh, and he's got a great backstory of like how hard he clawed to get into position. At the time of his UFC debut, he was still driving taxis in Rio. He grew up on a water buffalo farm, and then his father abandoned the family, and he still had siblings, so they moved to the city, and he took odd jobs to make sure that his siblings were fed. And these are where you get like hear weird things about. He was a bricklayer, he was a sushi chef, he was a hairdresser. I think he was a bodyguard at one point as well. And he's in his early 30s. And now he found his calling. He found what he wanted to do with his life. So I'm so drawn to his story because like you and I are in our early 30s. He didn't find his career. He never became successful until his early 30s. Like
I know
you give yourself time, right?
I know he's literally a year older than me. I think he's born the 18th of December, which is a day younger than me, but a year ahead. Which is like, oh man, this guy's done so much more than me. I'm so behind in life, man. No, but honestly, it's really inspiring to hear. I mean, it sounds like a cliche because we talked about it with the Charles Oliveira story, but man, these Brazilians, man, they come out with these fucking amazing Disneyland, come from behind or rags to riches story tales, which is just crazy, man. But I agree, man. I love that story. I love the fact that he did so many odd jobs before actually becoming, where he's at right now. And he's a murderer, man. I mean, he comes ready to fucking stalk his prey and put them out with one shot.
No, he's a Mortal Kombat character, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he really is, man. He's there to fucking put you out, man. One shot.
One thing, and I haven't seen this comparison very much. I'm really surprised that I haven't seen it, but like he dashes him for strikes. He throws leaping
Yeah,
haymakers. He throws leaping like elbows and stuff. And it's also like his flaws. He reminds me a lot of Takanori Gomi. And I haven't seen a lot of people compare it to him, but like to me,
yeah,
he looks very similar, doesn't
yeah. That blitzing in and out style is very similar. Yeah, he's literally just blitzing in and out, and he just got his hands down the whole time, like complete disregard of. I don't think I think in his mind he believes that no one in the flyweight division can knock him out. Not a single person that can make that weight, because the way he was fighting. Okay, let's go into the fight now, because I think
he?
that's
Let's do it. Just
so
going. I'm done talking.
yeah. So with the Brandon Moreno fight, what I was really impressed with. So when you're watching things in the cold light of day, it's a completely different kind of mindset. When you're watching it at night, you're like, oh my god, Davidson's fucking him up. Oh my god, he's just coming forward. Oh, it's crazy, man. He's taking all these shots, and he's still landing shots. But when you watch it again, it's like, wow, Deiveson fought very, very risky, man. He put his hands down the whole time, winging really telegraph shots when you think about it, and going to the head, going to the body, throwing big, big shots. And when you look at the kind of striking difference that Moreno was imposing, he was being very technical, very good with his fundamentals, keeping his guard up. It kind of worked against his favor though, because he kept his guard up so high that he took quite a few body shots as well. But just technically, Moreno was a much better striker, but Deiveson was still able to kind of impose his will. How weird is that?
No, it's MMA. I feel like because
Yeah,
you're not trying to land a volume amount of strikes in MMA. We're judged on punches that are trying to end the fight, and Figueiredo just focuses on night ending, decapitating,
yeah,
trying to like leaping punches. So he might have an exchange where he is outstruck 3-1, but he wins the exchange due to his extreme power most of the time. Is that kind of accurate?
yeah, absolutely, man. It's a significant power advantage that he's got in his striking. You could tell that when flyweights hit and when he hits, it's a completely different ball game. I mean, I think he could be, a top contender at bantamweight. Honestly, he's got that power to kind of go all the way to bantamweight and be very competitive there. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you land 2 or 3 strikes in him, it's fine. He'll take 2 or 3 shots, and then he'll just wing a massive right hand or a left hand on you, or he'll smash that left body kick into your body. And he did that to Moreno a few times, because Moreno's classically an orthodox fighter, so he was open to that left body kick. Yeah, he got landed quite a few times with that left body kick as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, especially on the tip. One of my notes that I had here was that Figueiredo during combination exchanges actually doesn't do very well. He was getting beat most of the time in exchanges because he's kind of just looking to set up one main shot. And when Moreno was combination punching in return, his punches were landing more often than not. That was one of the notes I had. I completely agree with you that he is just looking for one punch. And that's one of the flaws to his games. It's an advantage and it's a flaw. And I think that's a theme that we see a lot with Figueiredo. His advantages
are fun though, man. He's just there. He's just such a little assassin, man. I love it. Like he's there to just fucking take you out, man. I mean, it's none of this. I mean, I like Demetrius Johnson a lot. Great, fantastic fighter, but because of the level or the difference in skill between him and everyone else, it was a little boring sometimes. Same with GSP. I mean, you're probably gonna hate me for saying that because he's your countryman and all. But don't you ever find it a little bit boring towards the end of his career when it was just pure domination and it's like, oh, this again?
Yeah, no, yeah. One of the best GSP moments is when Carlos Condit kicked him in the head. Like, you have to, you got to have like you have to give up ground sometimes to make exciting fights. But yeah, GSP was very much a guy who believed in martial arts of like, I can win on points. And that's okay because this isn't a fight. This is a sport. Whereas Figueiredo very much thinks of like, this is a fight.
I'm god of fucking war. God of war. Yeah. I'm the god of war, baby.
So I think he really sees fighting as a fist fight, right? He doesn't fight different whether he's sparring in a fight or in a street fight. I think he's the same all the way around, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine him on the street just winging shots like he was against Moreno, just winging shots, yeah, and trying to put the guy out. Even if no matter how big they are, they'll probably be like 6'8", and he'll still probably fight the same exact way. He's just super aggressive, but again, that does work against his favor. He got taken down as we know by Moreno. Moreno landed some great shots. What I really liked was that he landed this a few times. It was that 1-2 body hook combination, and then you'd go over the top, and then you land the right hook. I thought that was really good, and he managed to land that a few times against Figueiredo. But I think it's only because Figueiredo was way too aggressive, man. He was trying to put him out in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to say, but so Figueiredo, to me, the most quintessential thing is that his greatest advantages are his greatest flaws. So he is dashing in for strikes. He is leaping in for huge overhand strikes or leaping in for huge elbows. When he misses those, he is so far out of position. Now, yes, if he lands it, he wins the fight. But if he misses, as we saw in the 4th round, he almost gets knocked out because he's so far out of position.
Oh my goodness, man. And he's got such a good poker face as well. Like he's got that Fedor Emelianenko poker face where if you got rocked, you'd be like, did I rock him? No, I probably didn't. But it's the same face. And he managed to disguise that very well. Even though it was obvious to everyone that he got rocked a little bit, he still managed to go forward, man, which is crazy. But yeah, he leaves himself open to position a lot by missing those big shots.
Yeah, he really slides out there. Because it's like he loses his own balance if the punch doesn't land. He's really going for punches. You know what I mean?
Throwing stones, man. Like his name Leonard Garcia. How Joe Rogan was explaining Leonard Garcia's striking style, just throwing pebbles or throwing stones. The way he's
that's a throwback. That's a good one. I like that one a lot. Yeah. So if Figueiredo wants to win this fight, he does need to clean up his striking a little bit because he needs to work. He was actually having a lot of success with the jab because his jab was working a little bit longer than Moreno and it was a little bit faster than Moreno's. And when he went jab into overhand, that was really good. By the end of the fight, he was just doing head movement into an overhand, and that wasn't quite as good. That's where Moreno was finding success. Moreno was finding success kind of when he would initiate exchanges. If he waited for Figueiredo, that was the wrong thing to do. If he needs to initiate and start the exchanges, he needs to pick his shots, try to control the center, but more than anything, and I'm sure you saw this as well, he needs to mix in clinching and takedowns in this fight. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, you bastard! You stole my nose.
No, I'm just setting you up. I'm setting you up. You can run away now.
No. But I knew we both would agree with this because we both watched the Formiga fight, and the Formiga fight for me. This is how I looked at it. I don't know if you saw it the same way. So with the Formiga fight, when I was watching it, I was like, it seems like Deiveson started off really aggressively, and Formiga had really good fundamental striking. He had very good defense. He was backing away, trying to fire off shots on the outside. And when Deiveson got taken down, he backed the fuck away for the rest of the fight. He was nowhere near as aggressive. And Formiga actually got good top control and managed to land some good shots in that first round. And I think that maybe put a bit of fear into Deiveson of that takedown and, the fact that he actually had really good top control. And I think that's the key to the fight, man. As you mentioned, clinches. Yeah, again, every time Deiveson would come in with the shot as well or strike in the 3rd round, Formiga would clinch up with him immediately. He would clinch up with him, go into a clinch. And it was beautifully done, man. He completely negated that striking of Deiveson.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, so Jussier Formiga, really good fight against Deiveson Figueiredo, of which Jussier Formiga won. And just like you said, what he was able to do, whenever Figueiredo came in for a haymaker, Formiga would step into it.
Yeah.
So that way the distance is closed. And if you're stepping into an opponent who's trying to strike on you, you can get to a clinch, you can get to a takedown. And one thing that Formiga does really well, he's experienced, he's been around the block for quite a while now. Yeah. A lot of fighters get a takedown, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get a takedown. Formiga isn't looking for positional control so much, so he doesn't get a takedown and then pause. He is a takedown to trying to move to the next position. So whenever Moreno did have a takedown on Figueiredo, Figueiredo would often just get a wall walk because Moreno was happy to just like, I got the position. I'm just going to hold. But Moreno needs to get the takedowns, just like Formiga did. And then he needs to try to advance position as fast as possible, trying to advance to side control, mount, whatever it might be. Now, interesting, they do have a common opponent as Juicy Formiga. Moreno fought Formiga the way that I want Moreno to fight Figueiredo. Formiga also fought Figueiredo the way I want Moreno to fight Figueiredo. Like, I know we got like one guy odd out here, but like,
but it's so good though. It's such a good reference because Formiga is a very elite level fighter. How crazy is it that he got a release, by the way? I find that nuts. I know he lost 3 in a row, but they weren't exactly bums. There were 2 people that fought for the title, and he beat the champion. What the hell, man?
He beat the champion. And also, you've seen their faces. This is, Figueiredo is the evil twin brother of Jussier Formiga. They look exactly the same.
He's the Wario version of Mario.
He's the Wario version. Yeah, that's exactly right. No, Moreno, and he's shown this ability in the past where he can do really good combination striking, jabbing into striking. He can do striking into clinching. He can do clinching into takedown. And then when he fought Figueiredo, he just got so focused on the striking. And I think that was a part. In this fight, he needs to mix it up. He needs to go from striking to clinching to takedown. He needs to initiate exchanges. It's a winnable fight for him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to pick him. What do you think?
Mate, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to pick Moreno because I feel like, and here's the thing, there was an X factor in the last fight. I'm picking Moreno very reluctantly. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's another draw, honestly. But the reason why I'm picking Moreno very reluctantly is because I feel like the fundamental striking was better. And I feel like that groin shot that Deiveson landed on Moreno, it's a bit of a small effect, but it had a domino effect on the rest of the card. Yes, that point got taken away, but who knows? Moreno might have won that round and he might have had forward momentum from that point onwards as well. I thought the striking was a lot better. He could take a shot a lot better than I thought that he would initially. He's got amazing cardio. He kept pushing towards the end. 5th round, he broke his arm, actually, the left arm. So he stopped attacking. It wasn't a lack of cardio. It was just the arm. And, man, he's got that Mexican warrior spirit, man. I have to go with Moreno, man. I think he's going to win the second fight.
Yeah, Moreno's tough as nails. And we saw, like, in the Brandon Royval fight, he's mixing in kicks and takedowns. If he picks his shots like he was kind of in the 4th round, you saw a little bit more where he's picking his shots, landing straight combinations, patient striking.
Takedowns as well. So
multiple if he replicates that 4th round, he can win. I've seen Moreno as high as plus 160. That's not a bad bet on a fight that was a draw the last time out. But I'm going to pick Figueiredo. I know I just built up Moreno.
I love we're disagreeing finally. Yes, I love it. Let's fight.
I know we carved the game plan for Moreno and like how well he showed in past fights that he can follow the game plan. The thing is that Figueiredo doesn't hit like a flyweight, right? When he lands a punch, and I think that was what's happening to Moreno is that he may have had a good game plan going in as he did with Brandon Royval or Jussier Formiga. When you get hit, you're kind of thrown off your game a little bit. And he only needs to land like 2 punches to win a round because he's just so strong. He can lose an entire exchange and just land 1 punch and then the exchange is his.
He changes your face, man. I mean, look what he did to Benavidez' face here. In that second fight, it almost looked like Benavidez went through some, kind of chamber that makes you age faster by 10, 15 years. Because by the end of that, he looked fucking, I mean, you gotta watch it again. You look like an ancient old man withering in the corner, getting fucked up by the God of War. And it was so brutal, man. I hope he never hears this because he'll be after me and probably murder me. But man, he hits different, man. Look, Benavidez is one of the biggest hitters of the flyweight division ever. And look what Deiveson did to him.
Yeah, I think the first Deiveson Figueiredo and Benavidez fight was like the first few fights in a first few rounds in a Mortal Kombat fight. And then their second fight was the finish him round where the UFC was like, you got to finish him off, dude. You got to decapitate him.
You guys are going to choke him out. Man, that was the most dominant and most brutal title fight I've ever seen in my life. A title fight finish. I'm trying to think of something worse. Maybe Nunes versus Ronda Rousey, or Amanda Nunes. Well, Amanda Nunes is just a savage. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. But that was as brutal as it comes, man. He dropped him multiple times as well.
Yeah, it was just an absolutely brutal affair, and it's fun to watch. But yeah, I think Figueiredo a little bit better ring craft. He controls the center most of the time. He kind of gets the meta game of fighting. The reason these two match up so well, they do like exchanging punches, but they take rests at different times. So fighters will always rest in the fight. They'll take like 1 minute just to get their arms back in place or something like that. What's really fun about these two is they clearly rest at different times. So Figueiredo's almost trying to take like a minute off, and then Moreno's aggressive. And same with Moreno. He's trying to like get the blood back in his arms. He's a little bit tired. That's when Figueiredo is attacking. And that's when Figueiredo is able to really he does understand positional advantage. He's able to like, I'm in the center and I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
Your back is on the cage. That is my choice. Right. So Figueiredo's really good at like kind of the meta game of MMA. And that's why like Moreno probably is a better striker, but he may not win the fight. You know what I'm saying?
It's the octagon control that you're mainly talking about, because you're right. Figueiredo was stalking him the whole time, and that's one of the actual kind of rules for judging. You know, a fight. You know, you got to have good octagon control as well. So yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that, man. He might have octagon control the whole time, might land less significant strikes, and still win the fight.
Mixed martial arts is one of the weirdest sports.
Judging, man. We should be judges, honestly.
Okay, so you're picking Moreno. I'm picking Figueiredo. I mean, but we're both like, I don't know, 51-49 for the others still. Like, it's fine either way. It's
fine. Yeah, I mean, it's so closely contested. I mean, I was initially picking Figueiredo all the way throughout before watching the fight tape, and then I watched something a bit different, and I was like, I don't think Moreno is going to fight the same way the first fight, and I think this kid is very good, man. So yeah, I do feel like it's Moreno's time in the rematch.
Awesome. I love it. And this sets up probably a trilogy fight. And then we get to talk about this fight some more, which is awesome. Now, should we move on to our next fight, our final fight that we're going to talk about for the UFC 263 event? Yeah.
Yeah, this is flying under the radar a little bit. This is potentially Demian Maia's retirement fight, which is crazy, man, because I've been watching this guy for a very long time now, enjoying all of his fights. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure to watch Demian Maia fight. And if you are a new MMA fan and you don't know who Demian Maia is, oh my God, you got so much to catch up on. He's probably the greatest submission fighter in UFC history. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
More than high voice, I'd say.
I think, only because of his longevity in the sport, right? He's been fighting in the UFC for so long. And there may have been other guys who came in and like had like 2 or 3 amazing submissions and then just left. Demian Maia has been consistent for over a decade now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and he's been consistently beating younger guys as well, which is the absolute nuts thing about this, man. I mean, you know, he has not been a young man for a very long time now. And even against Ben Askren, who, you know, was meant to win that fight easy, he completely dominated him. And Ben Askren is a very, very, very good grappler as well. Very good wrestler. Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Demian Maia, man. Demian Maia is my boy, man. I fucking love Demian Maia.
And not only that,
he never will be champion. That's yeah.
And not only that, Demian Maia's legacy in the UFC, I don't want to throw someone else under the bus, but like, I know that other guys like Donald Cerrone have more fights than him, but Demian Maia has kind of consistently always been top 10 or top 5 at like, that's the worst, was top 10 for him, right?
Agreed. Yeah. I think that's what was most frustrating about his career, because at middleweight, he had a really good run. He beat Chael Sonnen, a bit of a throwback there. So he beat Chael Sonnen, and he beat a couple of other really good guys as well. I think he beat Nate Marquardt.
No, Nate Marquardt was the really good one where...
Oh, no, he smashed him. Nate Marquardt smashed Demian Maia.
Yeah. It was an awesome highlight. It looks like...
that was... Vanderlei was
my favorite one.
Yeah, I know. Vanderlei was in Demian Maia's corner for that one, I think. If I remember.
I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Okay.
It was so random. But he got fucked up within about a minute. But anyways, he's the guy that's had this kind of run, at middleweight. He's had, quite a good winning streak at middleweight, got the title shot, had a really, 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 really boring fucking title fight with Anderson Silva, like really boring. and he went to welterweight. I'm like, oh, look, man, Demian Maia looking fantastic again. Gets a title shot. And guess what? He has another fucking really, really boring fight with Tyron Woodley. So it's a very frustrating career, man. I mean, he looks really good on the lead up to the actual title shot, but then he fights the number one guy in the world and he always falls short. He's the number two. He's been the number two guy twice. But yeah, he always falls short of the world championship.
No, and Demian Maia is another guy that I like because he very much sees mixed martial arts as martial arts of like, this is a sport. I'm going to win. I'm okay with winning on points. I'm going to do better than you because this is a sport. This isn't a fist fight. You have to understand that. And that's kind of where Demian Maia comes from. He's a very pure martial artist kind of guy. And he's fought over generations. Like as much as he has fought Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva, he's fought Tyron Woodley. And then he ended his career, well, maybe not ended, but he fought Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. He's fought multiple generations throughout his career, and he's still here.
Yeah, who can say at 42 years old that they are in the top 7 of any division? It's very rare for anyone to say that, really. So props to Demian Maia, man. He's been fighting for an exceptionally long time as well. Yeah, I couldn't be any more excited to kind of, I mean, he mentioned it last time. This is potentially his retirement fight. So I'm going to treat it that way. And yeah, this probably would be his last one.
And I like what you said on his 2 title fights. They were notably bad. They were like, if you made a list of the top title fights of all time, he would take up 2 spots. And like, what a legacy to have.
It's just, you know what? They just feared the takedown and the ground game so much that it completely negated the whole fight. And that's the power of his ground game, because his striking is absolutely dog shit. I mean, it's slightly better than Ben Askren's because he outstruck Ben Askren in his fight. But yeah, it's not great striking. It's just pure ground game, man. It just shows you that his ground game is 5 stars out of 5, easy.
No, it really is. I mean, it's one thing to outstrike Ben Askren, but it's another thing to outgrapple Ben Askren. If you are out grappling Ben Askren, you are the top 1% of grapplers on earth, and that is Demian Maia. He's a multi-time ADCC, or he's won ADCC World Championship. He's won the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship in his life. In MMA, he's got 14 submissions. And like I said, those are at the top levels of the UFC. He is ranked at number 2 in total wins in the UFC. He has 22.
Oh, wow.
Donald Cerrone, he has 22 wins in the UFC. Wow. And Donald Cerrone has 23. He has the potential to tie Donald Cerrone for most wins in UFC history with a win this weekend.
I bet he's got the biggest, or probably up there with the biggest win percentages in terms of actual wins as well. I'm sure he's up there because he's not had that many losses in the UFC, considering.
No, not a ton, which is a big surprise.
For Yonks, yeah, he's been, he got beat by Woodley, he got beat by Anderson Silva, Gilbert Burns, Nate Marquardt. I can't think of that many people that beat him.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost to a bunch of other guys.
Colby and Usman, obviously. But again, these are all towards the latter end of his career, which is mad.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Weidman, Mark. Yeah, there's a few guys along the way. What is, before we get to the Belal Muhammad fight, what is your favorite memory of Demian Maia?
My favorite memory of Demian Maia? Oh, man. You know what? It was basically his welterweight debut. I believe it was against Rick Story.
I think you're right. Yep.
Oh, man. That was... Because I watched this and I was like, Demian Maia's at welterweight. This should be interesting. And I was like in my early 20s then. This is a long time ago. I was like, let's see what happens here. Because Rick Story is a very good wrestler. I was thinking that Rick Story would, do some counter wrestling and outstrike him on the feet. He looked like a child, man, next to Demian Maia. Demian Maia absolutely manhandled the fuck out of him. And I believe I think he choked him out, but he didn't even have the choke in properly. He just basically, it was just a complete mauling, man. But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite Demian Maia memories, man. And obviously putting Ben Askren to sleep as well. I thought that was super impressive, man. Very impressive.
Yeah, he's had some highlight wins. I think the Chael Sonnen win, because we didn't realize the triangle choke for Chael Sonnen would be like, this is the thing that's always going to come up in your career, Chael. And it was an early time. Chael was like a very, at the top, like Chael went on to fight Anderson Silva and beat him for 4.5 rounds. So like, losing to or beating Chael Sonnen was kind of a big deal. But my absolute favorite Demian Maia memory, number one, above all, is the Nate Marquardt fight. Because
oh man, you horrible guy. Getting knocked out in 15, 20 seconds.
I know. But it's like he went for a
bastard.
kick. And the way Nate Marquardt, a big juicy boy at the time, the way Nate Marquardt landed the punch, it was like he was swatting a fly and Demian Maia like floated away. It was like, it's weird looking at it in highlights because it looks like you just hit a guy.
Man, that's such a good metaphor because that, now that I'm thinking about it, it literally was that. It's like, how the fuck dare you even take a strike at the legendary Nate Marquardt? How could you? And Nate Marquardt just he flatlined him, man, with an overhand. It was so quick, man.
I loved it. And he just like floated away. But now in the UFC tradition of we got to put young guys over the top. There's not an old man division. There's not a legacy division in the UFC. You got to fight up and comers who are hungry. So Demian Maia is coming up against a young, hungry, aggressive
man. Oh, man.
How do you see it? What do you think?
Belal Muhammad. See, this is the thing. I am kind of torn here because I do really like Belal Muhammad, and long term, it doesn't really do much favors for the UFC for Demian Maia to win because he's on his way out anyway. They want Belal to win. They want to up his profile. They want to get more young blood in the division, build up that profile a little bit more of the welterweight division as well. Maybe line up some good contenders for Usman, but I don't know, man. I mean, classically, the way Belal works is that he mixes up his striking with his wrestling and his clinch work. And there's no way he should even try and clinch with Demian Maia. Man, don't even try any of that shit. Don't try and wrestle with him. Don't try and clinch him. He's going to have to try and strike him at distance. So, I don't know, man. It's an interesting one. Belal could catch him early and knock him out, but I'm actually going to go Demian Maia for this one. I'm going to say it.
That's a tough pick. Are you picking just like a boring decision, or are you picking?
I want to pick him by submission. By submission. It's his last fight, and I think he's going to try and go in a big way, man. What about yourself?
It's really tough because Belal Muhammad, he's a tough, aggressive striker. He does well when you're backing up. Yeah. And Demian Maia does back up as much as he's trying to take you down. He's trying to back up to set up his takedowns. So if Muhammad is going to be doing that kind of thing, he will get taken down. Yeah. And I fear that Belal will back up as well. And then we get like a Tyrone Woodley, Demian Maia fight again of just like these two don't want to engage because the risk is so high.
You're going to say it's a boring. You're going to predict a boring fight then, I'm guessing.
I'm hoping because it'll be 4 a.m. for us. And if this fight's boring, I'll just go to sleep.
No, but this is right before the main event, man. I don't want it to be boring. I need it to be exciting.
Yeah, but I do officially on the spreadsheet, I will be picking Demian Maia. I think by decision. I think he's just going to have positional control. Yeah. I think in terms of grappling, if he gets a takedown, he can control the entire round, and he'll hold control for the entire round. But Belal Muhammad is a good striker. I'm not willing to say he's a great striker or anything like that. Yeah. But if he is put on his back, Demian Maia will be the better grappler, and he's for that reason,
martial arts striker, because again he mixes in that grappling pressure and that. The clinching and the takedowns. He tries to mix in everything. I think he did that against Lyman Good and a few other people as well. And I don't know. I just feel like he's not going to be able to do that against Demian Maia, man. He's not going to be able to do any of that stuff.
No, and I can co-sign with you on that one. So we're both picking Demian Maia, and we're both hoping for like a happy end to the career of Demian Maia.
Look at Maia's. By the way, look at Maia's losses. By the way, so I'm just going to read these out. Yeah. And literally every single one of these, Tim, are a world champion or a champion or a title contender. So you got Gilbert Burns, and then you got Kamaru Usman he lost to, Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley, all world champion pretty much. Colby is obviously interim champ, but still championship material. And then you got a loss to Rory McDonald, which I remember being quite competitive. Jake Shields, he was a champion in Strikeforce. Chris Weidman, he lost to. Mark Munoz, I mean, he was very good, but I wouldn't say he was a title contender, but, up there with the elite. Then Anderson Silva, and then Nate Marquardt. So he only gets beaten by the best, Tim, man. And I don't think Belal has got enough to beat him, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a really fair assessment. You do need to be the A1, the top 1% of this sport to be able to beat Demian Maia. He's a great fighter. He's a
Yeah.
great, yeah, he's you got to beat him if you want to be the GOAT kind of thing, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's a great fighter. So yeah, we're both picking Demian Maia here, and then he sails off happily into the sunset. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I don't really want him to stick around too long. He's been in the sport for a very long time. You know, been doing jiu-jitsu, kind of competitive jiu-jitsu for a long time. So it's taken a lot on his body. Yeah, it's time to retire now.
I agree. So we've covered off a couple of fights. If you haven't seen our other breakdowns on the Calf Kick Sports podcast, check them out there on YouTube. We talk all the UFC 263 fights, spend about 30 minutes on each one, so we get really in depth. And it's an exciting card to break down. Next week, we got a couple of people visiting us, so make sure to tune in again next week. Tell your friends, subscribe to this, follow us on Instagram, Calf Kick Sports. We're having Hayes, we're having Mom's Basement MMA. Tim and Ash will be back. What else do we got to cover off before I head out?
I mean, what else more do you guys need, man? I mean, it's going to be a jam-packed episode, with all four of us discussing that. So that's going to be an interesting one, guys. The first one with guests. And yeah, we've got differing opinions on the main event as well. That should be interesting to discuss as well. And many more things to discuss as well, which we'll get into next week.
Yeah. Check out Tim Wheaton MMA. I was on the Art of MMA podcast this week. I should have an article up later today. And then the day of the fight, I think in the morning, we're doing a live stream with the MMA Sucka website. So if you just can't get enough Tim content in your life, don't complain. There's so much Tim content. There's a ridiculous amount. You should be sick of me by now. And then we're going to Calf Kick Sports Podcast. We'll be back next week. Make sure to subscribe. Ash, last word. Go ahead.
Guys, this should be one of these events where we either get everything absolutely correct or we're just going to look like clowns. So, tune in. It should be a really fun listen next week. And I can't wait to break it down for you guys.